This is the topic lesson on advertising. We've established that there are a lot of channels with a visual that looks something like this. And then we've determined that certain channels are conducive to certain digital marketing tactics. I had previously placed ads over here on top of search and social, but none of these tactics are meant to be locked in stone. They aren't limited to just this arrangement, especially advertising, which can really manifest anywhere across our digital channels. For an informal definition, straight from me, let me say that advertising is the presentation of a sponsored message within, before, during, between, over, after, under, or at any other location relevant to our content. There are a few main types of digital ads. There are display ads, commonly called banner ads, that take images or lightly animated or interactive strips or boxes and present the sponsored message. Video is treated separately because, well, it's video. And mobile ads are also distinguished often because they're only shown on mobile, as is the case with ads in mobile apps, or because they have a desired outcome that's different than desktop or laptop presented ads may have. Business phone calls are one such desired outcome for mobile ads. Other types of ads exist, like shopping ads, social ads, and text ads. But in terms of categorizing ad types in a less abstract manner, let's look at what causes money to exchange hands. There are two main advertisement classifications: cost per action and cost per view. Cost per action, or CPA, has money exchanging hands when a user takes some action to pre-qualify themselves as potentially interested. The most common type of pre-qualification is a click. This is known as cost per click. Because of the pre-qualification concept, cost per action is more valuable than the other type, cost per view. In fact, the disparity is so large that we don't use cost per view as a meaningful metric. Instead, we take 1,000 views, bundle them together, and utilize cost per mil, which is the cost per 1,000 views. And it's not just that the value discrepancy is 1,000 to 1, it's more uneven than that. Consider the cost for each. As your instructor, I'd suggest that most of your campaigns might cost in the range of 50 cents per click to $5 per click for cost per click campaigns of all types. Sure, you could go higher, maybe $10 or $20 if you target generic terms in large ticket industries. For instance, some quick research on display ad costs showed the phrase Caribbean cruise estimated at $5 per click, refinance mortgage estimated at $25 per click, and car insurance estimated at an astounding $140 per click. And this is one of the many reasons that Geico spends between $1 and $2 billion across digital and traditional advertising every year. Cost per impression can cost as little as 50 cents per 1,000 impressions, or it could cost $10 or $20 or more. It all depends on the makeup of the traffic. If homogeneous and well-targeted, the cost is higher. If widely varied and untargeted, the cost is lower. So if you click on an auto insurance ad, will that company really pay $140? After all, that's about a month's premium for some of us. They might pay that if you clicked on a display ad on the web while visiting sites contextually related to auto insurance. But other channels have different costs. A text ad on a SERP will be a lot less. I checked Google at the same time as my display ad research and found that they projected the generic car insurance keyword at around $3 per click. For this particular generic keyword, the display ad channel is about 46 times more expensive than the SERP text ad. That's an extreme example, but it helps to know how wild this can get. Even still, companies don't necessarily pay what they bid. It's all done by auction, so the more consistently you want to be prominently featured, you not only have to pay more, but also convert more successfully than other ads. You and I both want to advertise our company's totally cool microphones. I place a bid of $4 to have my microphone's display ad run across Google's display network. You place a bid promoting your microphone for $3.20 per click. Way back in time, my ad probably appeared before yours, higher on the page, because I was bidding more and the ad network knew nothing of microphones and their conversions yet. But because you're using a deep understanding of psychology and consumer behavior, which we'll explore in another week's topics, your ad gets clicked on more than mine. Because we're the only competitors to date, you probably pay the full $3.20 that you bid. At some point, because your ad is outperforming mine, your ad rises to the top, even though I'm bidding more. Let's say a third company comes in and decides to get aggressive. They offer $10 per click. It doesn't matter. Within the described scenario, they're never paying $10, nor am I likely to pay $4 until competition increases. Why? I'll take some shortcuts to explain this succinctly. The auction winner pays the bid of the closest competitor equal to or less than your bid in most cases. So if my $4 ad gets clicked, I'll end up paying your lower bid of $3.20. This keeps the ad network honest and prevents runaway pricing. Our mutual competitor thought they'd leap to the top, but their ad is new and the conversion rate is unknown. So the algorithm will A/B test until it has the data it needs. And all of this, the entire process described so far, happens in just milliseconds and in real time for almost every ad that gets loaded with a web page, video stream, mobile app, or the like. Now, how do we analyze the performance of our ads? Mostly the networks do that for you, but I'd feel we're missing an opportunity if we didn't explore some of the basic math that goes into the process. Here, I'll provide a simple ad campaign. Let's target a market, which is a bit too broad in many cases, but fine for this example. We want to put the market's inhabitants through a marketing funnel and gain customers as a result. The funnel will be a simple 3-step conversion. Tier 1 will be us bidding to place a display ad in front of our market. Tier 2 will be those within the market who clicked on the ad and are therefore viewing a landing page on our website for the campaign. Tier 3 will be checkout, or when this target within the market actively buys our product from the landing page. I'm calling these tiers, but you can call them whatever you want. Tier, level, stage, it doesn't matter. What we care about are the conversions between. The first conversion from outside the campaign or funnel to inside is called the click-through rate, or CTR. This doesn't mean the customer is external to us. They could already be on an owned property if that's where Tier 1 starts. Or they could already be a customer on an external site. In any case, they're outside the funnel or campaign. Ultimately, every other conversion is just that, a conversion, indicated by a conversion rate or CR, which is fun for me because those are my initials. Let's calculate the click-through rate and the conversion rate from Tier 2 to Tier 3. The simple way to do this is to take the net, or what you got, and divide by the gross, or what you could have had. Remember, net divided by gross, actual divided by potential, real divided by wishful thinking. But there's also something called the overall conversion rate. Analytics services just call this the conversion rate, but conversion rate to an ad network implies our click-through rate. This gets unnecessarily confusing, I know. So I'll refer to this by its lengthier name of overall conversion rate, but in my work you'll often catch me calling it the acquisition rate, because they're one and the same in this use case. Let's use nice round numbers. If the ad is displayed to 100 people, and 10 of them click the ad and end up on our landing page, our click-through rate is net over gross 10 over 100. That's 10%, or 0.1. Then, if only one of those 10 people complete the conversion from Tier 2 to Tier 3, or from landing page visitor to checkout, that is 1 over 10 because of net over gross, and this computes to 10% or 0.1, just like the previous calculation. Simple, right? Now, to get that overall conversion rate or acquisition rate, we can take the overall net of one customer divided by the overall gross of 100 ad views to get 1% or 0.01. Another way to do this, if you like options, is to multiply all of the conversions by one another. In this case, 10%, which is 0.1, times 10%, another 0.1, also yields 1% or 0.01. Let's say the advertising campaign we ran to enact this funnel costs $25. Our cost per acquisition, which is the second time we're seeing CPA stand for something in this presentation. Earlier it was cost per action. Anyway, our cost per acquisition is, well, $25 per customer. Generating one customer from a $25 campaign equates to $25 per customer. This is simple net over gross again. If we had magically earned 2 customers, the CPA would be $12.50. 3 customers would be $8.33, but those things didn't happen, so it's back to $25 we go. By now, you should know that profit equals revenue minus expenses. If you don't, now is the time to write it down, find a comfortable meditation position, and repeat this as a mantra until you could shout it out of a harsh wake-up from an awful nightmare. Profit equals revenue minus expenses. It's that important to business. So let's complicate things, shall we? We want to calculate the return on investment, or ROI. The ROI is essentially the profit for one particular action, one funnel, one campaign, one whatever. We must know what we're trying to accomplish to calculate this properly. Just like we've been misled to believe a calorie is a calorie is a calorie, hint, metabolic pathway does matter, so too we've been deceived into thinking a dollar is a dollar is a dollar. I'm glad you make dollars for the company, but if you make me a dollar doing the wrong thing, I'm going to have serious questions about whether I can count on the continued flow of those dollars, and that's a problem. We must define what our funnel was designed to do. In other words, we have to scope the campaign. If I sent you out into the world as my director of marketing and said, just create revenue for the company, you run an ad campaign and it results in generating transactions with customers, existing and new. Let's look at one of these transactions as the order it represents. Let's also leave marketing for a moment and gather some averages from our company's operations analysts. We want to know the average revenue per order, which is our revenue, and we also want to know how much each order must contribute to fixed and variable costs. These are our regular expenses. Subtract the average expenses from the average revenue, and we get the average order profit. So how much did we make for our business? We've deducted all expenses so far but one, the cost of the campaign we ran to increase business. This means our ROI calculation is average order profit minus cost per acquisition. We can take this resulting per order ROI and multiply it by the number of orders generated by the ad campaign. Doing so will produce the overall return on investment for the campaign. But what if I hadn't asked you to simply bring in revenue? What if I asked you instead to attract brand new customers to increase our market penetration? Then I might alter the operations analysis magic and swap out some variables to reflect average new customer profit minus cost per acquisition. But if we have the data and desire to consider customer lifetime, we may eliminate the new part to factor in customer lifetime longevity via an additional factor, the average number of orders. But that's further than we're going to visualize here. Now, what if we wanted to drum up sales within an existing segment, target, persona, or market? Yes, we can focus on groups of people. The inputs of what constitute our revenues and expenses just slightly shift to maintain scope. If we work even more operations analysis magic and identify the dollar value of new likes, subscribers, shares, comments, or whatever else, we could then calculate our campaign's ROI to the penny for actions that don't directly result in sales. But I have to admit, while I find performing these calculations professionally exhilarating, now is probably not the best time to proverbially try to accelerate from 0 to 60 in record time. For now, here's a cheat sheet of the calculations we've covered as a way to address the functional dynamics of online advertising.